like releasing the protesters that have been jailed. And they now have a law that says you cannot wear a mask. They want to track everyone's facial features. It is a surveillance state. Several different issues, but essentially they become now a pro-democracy movement. Not going to happen in Hong Kong, not under the Chinese thumb. But again, I just would contend that, first off, let me give you a little more political context to this. Josh Hawley, Republican senator, Marco Rubio, Ben Sasse, Ted Cruz, a lot of Republican senators have ripped the NBA, just like Clay Travis, and saying that they are caving to the almighty buck. You know who else is? The leader of the free world, the president of the United States. It's his job to push for democracy if that is in fact what United States senators want, and I hope they do. It's his job. But as my network reported, the president agreed to stay silent on the Hong Kong protests during trade talks with China. It is not Adam Silver's job to spread democracy around the world. If anything, it's the president's job. So I just think all of this criticism aimed at the NBA is bogus.
All right.
And
okay. And Morey just sent out a tweet in support of the Hong Kong protesters and the people of China,
and deleted it.
Right. And the people of China got very offended by that. Just out of curiosity, why do you think they got so offended by that? Like, why is being able to extradite the Hong Kong people and have them go to trial in China, why is that A, so important to the Chinese, and B, why would they get so offended by Morey's tweet?
Well, first off, another ironic twist of this is the people of China, they don't have access to Twitter. They don't even see tweets. It's forbidden by the state. So only a few state officials would have seen this tweet that would have never been known if they wouldn't have made a big deal of this, because it was deleted so quick. Why is it such a big deal? China does this to all businesses. They do this to Hollywood. They do this to airlines. They do this to golf club makers. They do this to shoemakers. They tell you how you do business in their country. They force technology transfers. They steal technology from companies. This is just part of doing business in China. They tell you what you can talk about on Hollywood blockbusters. They tell you that you can't talk about Winnie the Pooh in Hollywood movies because it offends Xi Jinping. So this is a very complicated situation, but this is the cost of doing business in China. They don't want you to even mention how they run their government. And the NBA appears to be standing up for their general managers. I say challenge China. What are they going to do at this point? It is huge in China. Basketball is massive. If that sport goes away, it not only hurts the NBA in terms of that $4 billion relationship, it hurts the Chinese population.
All right. So here's my reaction based on what I know about it, okay, and following the story. And let me say this. I'll say this a bunch of times on this show. I don't follow the politics part of it close enough to be able to speak intelligently on that part of it, right? That's why Dave's here, okay? This is politics and sports overlapping. This is like Christmas for Dave Briggs, okay? This is like the greatest day of his life. All right, this is like everything's coming together. Everything he's been working for 20 years since he graduated from college, it all comes together in this story, which is great. I love it. I'm glad we have Dave. He's amazing. But I don't really follow it closely enough to comment on that part of it. I do wonder, though, Dave, like on some level, number one, I always wonder with a guy like Daryl Morey, does he follow it closely enough and really understand it enough to comment on it, number one? And number two, my initial reaction was that it was pretty stupid by Daryl Morey. And look, you can make it any decision you want in life, but if you're the general manager of the Houston Rockets and they're the second most popular team in China, which means millions and millions of dollars for your franchise, to publicly disparage people that are providing your organization with millions and millions of dollars, I got news for you, Dave. If I was Tillman Fertitta, I'd be pissed. I'd be really pissed. Because you know what? Daryl Morey's tweet will have really no positive impact whatsoever. And maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Daryl Morey's tweet does nothing. So if I'm Tillman Fertitta, I'm thinking, you know what? It reminds me of a lot of times when I'm about to tweet something. If I have any hesitation, if I have any trepidation, the answer's no. Like,
Yep.
if you're not sure, the answer's no. Nobody in the world was clamoring for Daryl Morey's opinion on Chinese Hong Kong politics. Okay? That's number one. Number two, what I find interesting is I'm not hearing anything from Greg Popovich or Steve Kerr about this subject. And what I find intriguing is that the NBA, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit from the NFL angle, right, Dave, where the NFL is constantly criticized because they're greedy, all they care about is money and the bottom dollar and blah, 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 right? Okay, that's fine. That's the narrative around the NFL. Whereas the NBA is awesome. They are progressive. It's not about the money for the NBA. It's about doing good things for people and people's rights and all. That's all you hear, right? That's the narrative for those two leagues. So to me, it's sort of comical that right away the NBA says, right away Daryl Morey has to delete his tweet. And the NBA says it's regrettable. And Tillman Fertitta says he doesn't speak for the organization. And James Harden says, I love China. China's great. Like, in my mind, Dave, it's hypocritical. And I do think that Adam Silver is trying to thread the needle there, right? But my whole point is, don't tell me about how progressive you are and how much you fight for people's rights, and that's the priority, and that's what we're about, unless it might cost us hundreds of millions of dollars. Then, nope, it's regrettable, doesn't speak for us, delete that, Daryl, get Harden out here, China, 1, 2, 3. To me, it's just funny. Like, you can't have it both ways. Don't tell me that you're progressive unless there's hundreds of millions of dollars on the line.
So you have to be entirely one way? That's bogus. Because listen, how many of us are willing to sacrifice the future growth of what it is we do, of our entire industry, of our job, of our
I'm not
company?
at all. I'm not at all.
But you're saying they should risk the future growth of their organization by speaking out on the politics of another country?
No.
That's what Clay Travis is saying, and that's a load of crap.
No, what I'm saying is, don't take all the plaudits and don't act like you are above every other business in the United States by acting like we are all about being progressive. I'm not saying
our country.
I'm not saying, Dave,
our country. You have to separate Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich from commenting on our country and our politics from an entirely different country.
Are they pro
country.
human rights or are they anti-human rights?
I mean, come on. Anyone that knows anything about Steve Kerr or Greg Popovich knows they are pro human rights, pro free speech.
So then Dave, when Steve Kerr was asked about it, why didn't he come out in support of Hong Kong and their rights?
Because his team is the #1 most popular team in China.
Okay. I see how
what's wrong with that? There's now you're the one that's hypocritical. Now you're the one that's all high and mighty. No, that's hypocritical. Come on, man. He's got a job to do. He's got a job to do.
He is pro human rights unless hundreds of millions of dollars are on the line. So now we at least know what the price point is. Okay? Now we at least know he's pro human rights unless it might mean hundreds of millions of dollars for his team in the NBA. Okay.
So wait.
The point is, Dave. The point is everybody has a price.
So Steve Kerr shouldn't talk about U.S. politics unless he's going to talk about politics of every nation, that is just uneducated. That is just ignorant.
No, I'm saying you're either human rights or you're not.
Oh, come
It's either an
on.
important issue to you or it's not. You don't speak out only when it's convenient for you and not when it might cost you money. That to
Okay.
me is laughable.